It's cool.
So most of the kids are in the music label you guys created.
They all are.
They all are bar one. We've got our boy Caleb who's not musically wired, I guess. He's more of our sports star, you know. He's the basketball player. But everyone else. Oh, and our younger one, Elijah. Yeah. Elijah, who wants to be a dancer.
Well, you know,
he's only 9.
You know one thing though, because you know, back in the day, like being a dancer at 9 years old was never. If I said to my dad, I'm going to go be a dancer, I can understand. I'll probably have a scar over here next to the piano as well, because, you know what I mean? But now, because our times have changed, these are achievable.
Yeah.
You know, there is a career in that. And I could, you know, we're the same kupulanga, so you know, the kind of things that are open to the kids now, they're not, they weren't feasible, or they weren't, you know, you couldn't comprehend.
No, I couldn't think of it, No. Even a career in music, like back then, Every time we said we wanted to do music, I was like,
You know, that's the thing, like, because I was just thinking that when you were talking about, you know, playing the piano and arranging music, there was really no wasn't a pathway to anything unless you were going to go play background for Michael Jackson in the band or something like that, you know? You had the big time. Because even here in New Zealand, like even being in a band, you know, unless you're a crowded house or...
there's no money in it, There's no music and there's no money in music here in New Zealand. And I mean, our kids, and I think our kids have understood that. They believe that as well. Like it's purely out of natural creativity and the love of music. But I think, if anything, I don't think it's sustainable.
Well, you know, I'm saying that because, you know, times have changed. If you, like, who's that the guy from out south who had that TikTok? So he managed to monetize that, and the thing about what's happening a lot now is that our own artists, our Pacific artists, are releasing their music independently. So I remember, because we've had a few guys come on. We had JM's come on, so you guys know, and we had Loomis Brown, and all those guys, and they were talking about how. Oh, and we had Luppy as well. So we had Luppy Mariner come on, and they were talking about how it's kind of shifted from you had to go get a record label and you had to get noticed and that. I think now what's happening is that if you're talented, if you're good enough, you will get exposed, or you will manage to turn that into money. And I think what's awesome is that your kids now are in that position where they can actually turn it into money. You know, back then, for you know, if we had like the greatest song in the world, someone was going to get a cut. You know, there was like, you know, everyone's going to try and get a piece of the pie.
Yeah.
Because we had Te Hamo on as well, and he kind of gave us the background on how the music industry works. You know, you think you're dealing with one guy, but you're dealing with 10. You know, everyone wants to have their, you know, piece of the cake or piece of the pie. So, do you think? Have you noticed that though with your kids? Do you think that it's set out that way now? Because I think you've got Spotify, you've got YouTube. You know, if your music, we know your music's good enough. It's just a matter of time of it being picked up.
Yeah. I still think New Zealand is not big enough to really crack it here, unless you're 660. It just depends on the genre. I think the genre that my kids are in, it's still evolving a lot, and that's why our focus, we've had to shift our focus from New Zealand now, because we look at our stats from our viewers on YouTube, we're getting a lot more coming from America.
Oh, awesome.
Because America's so big, and there are a lot of proud Polynesians, and when they see something like that, they all in it, So we're now sort of looking at how we can sort of explore overseas more. And I've heard this term a lot, this whole tall poppy syndrome. It is real.
It is real.
Yeah, it is real. Like, we talked about mainstream before we went live, about the gatekeepers. the sad thing that I've seen in the 3 years we've only been in it is that there are actually becoming gatekeepers within our own people. You know, if you look at the, got to tread carefully here, but let's look at the music awards, Pacific Music Awards. You sort of see a pattern that it seems to be the same people winning them all the time. And I'm thinking, hey, how come, you know, why are we seeing the same results?
It's a little bit hard to break through, eh?
Yeah, and so we've just tried to encourage our team is to just open your, you know, just think bigger.
Yeah.
Because, you know, even in our shows, we've done a few shows now, and man, even my family don't support it. You know what I mean? We bring a show out west, and my family don't show up. You know, and I'm thinking, oh, that's a no-brainer. If I see my nephews and nephews on things, so I'm there.
Yeah.
But so I realised, man, it's really, really hard.
Yeah.
We've got such a laxed attitude, I think, around support of one another. Like we do, but we do from a distance.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that whole syndrome comes from. And I think also our kids aren't the typical, you know, hood wearing performers that New Zealand are quite used to. You know, like when our boys came out, they wanted, you know, silk shirts and it was, I think in the view of New Zealand, you know, it's quite different. You know, they're not the typical group that come out, and then they look different. They probably sing a little bit different.
But don't get me wrong, we still love everyone that supports our music in New Zealand.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, you know, people still got that mentality that they'll spend $150, $200 to see an overseas, you know, artist, and won't spend $10 to come and support local talent.
You know,
it's that mentality there that I'm thinking, because these kids, like most of our artists, which are our kids, they do this full time, you know, and so this is their bread and butter. It'd be good to see a lot of our local people support, not only us, all local artists, you know, in
but
general.
we do, when we go through our stats, we do get a lot of support overseas. Australia's huge.
Thank you, Australia, if you're watching.
Yeah, so, and that's where a majority, and our New Zealand supporters are really low compared to, you know, our outside support. And maybe it's just a real casual thing, eh? Like, oh, that's really cool, or they're doing really well. But, you know, what we don't realise is that unless we actually show face or turn up or, you know, make it into a transaction of some sort, the support isn't necessarily there. You know, so I think that's probably what we're experiencing, is that we get so much support outside other than the local.
I remember when I first saw one of the videos, and it just reminded me of that sort of American style R&B.
Yeah, well,
and
I don't know why our kids.
But that's the, you know, that's when it comes to R&B, that's probably the best. That's the most recognized sound, though, is the, you know, the kind of American vibe of the 80s. But
also the other thing I thought about was that's the first Pacific R&B style that I've ever seen before. You know?
Yeah. Hence the reason why they are a little bit different. Eh? They're not the typical group that normally would come out of Auckland, I think. And so it's probably new and different to a lot of our to what we're used to. Sapphire, on the other hand, our girl, she gets a lot of support, a lot of love for her music, and I think for her it's the self-love of a big poly girl, you know, who's putting herself out there, and that's where she gets a lot of support from, is like all the girls that actually think, man, I'm a big girl, and you know, they do enjoy seeing another big poly girl out there, you know, with a little bit of confidence, you know, singing. It's empowering to them. So,
and you see it in the comments. I noticed.
Exactly.
The comments
you
of
know?
her videos.
So she gets a lot of love from a lot more love than than our boys, you know, get the trio, Truce receive. Although they get you know, love, and I guess love from the distance. Our little boy, Zephaniah, he's probably another one that gets a lot of support. Obviously, it's that cute factor. And then we've got Rayma, who's the gospel singer, and he gets a lot of support because, he's probably a little bit more forthcoming with a lot of the stuff that he gets involved in, with the choirs and the shows that he gets involved in. But they're all really different genres, but we just find that everyone kind of receives a little bit.
When you talked about Australia and their music scene, I've noticed that too, because if you see Australia, a lot of guys that are boys that we follow on Instagram, one of those lives up in Alice Springs, he's a promoter, so he gets guys in, and he makes, he gets full on support. And then you go to guys, artists that have been here and they've gone to Brisbane and they're killing it over there because they support. They don't. I think, and I don't understand, but our scene, we're quite judgmental. Like, I like him, but I don't want to know. I don't want people to know that I like him. You know what I mean? But over in Brisbane, they're like, I like him. I want to go and show it. I'm going to go and buy some drinks and watch these guys. And I think so. For example, if you see. You'll see nightclubs opening up with these acts, and they do that. They do that over in Australia all the time. My cousin, he'll tag me and promos that he's got there, and then you look at all the names, and it's guys that were here, Jay Williams and all these other dudes over there, and like we said, New Zealand's too small, and I think it's real talk, and Australians. They embraced them, they embraced the acts. If, for example, look at HP Boys and 1-4 and that. It's their own sound, and look, they're bigger here than, just as big here as in Australia. But if we've got rap groups here, they're bigger over in, Australians embraced them better than we do. So, there must be, it's a mentality that we have to change, that tall pop more. We're going to have to try, we should try and find a new name.
Yeah, I reckon.
I wonder if that mentality is because of, like you said, the market's small here. The numbers are small here. Yeah. Like whereas Australia got more numbers.
I think it's an attitude.
I think it's a culture. I think
it's an attitude.
I can't remember who I spoke to recently about the same topic, and I was interested in what he said too. He was saying that because we're so small, we're just so talented, man. There's just talent everywhere in New Zealand, and so it's like it's everywhere. I don't have to make an effort. I can listen to New FM and they're on there and that. Whereas if you go to countries like America and Australia, there's such big countries. When you hear Samoa coming to town, man, we all go support.
Yeah,
The only reason why I said what I said before was because I know this is this thing about like when you follow other people that other people are following. Like you need a certain number for you to follow as well.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain sort of like threshold. So if you need to be popular, let's just say for example you need 1,000 likes, right? 1,000 likes to get you in the door of a concert or something. Yeah. Well, at the beginning, people are gonna like you, but they're not gonna click like until the next person clicks like, and they'll see that there's a certain amount of likes, then they'll start clicking likes, even though they like you. But it's still like that following thing. So that's why I mentioned like New Zealand's too small for that to happen, because in Australia there's more people. You're gonna get enough likes for people to follow everyone quickly. Then New Zealand, we've got smaller amount of people here.
100%.
But I think you're right too. We have that culture where we wait. We'll wait for someone else to like. And if it's good enough for someone else, then it's good enough for me. So I think it is, a mix between a cultural thing and a size thing,
You know what? How shows what we really are sheep. And I bought Krispy Kreme, right? And you remember when Krispy Kreme opened up in Manukau? I went there about 5 times and I had to leave because I didn't want to wait there for 5 hours.
Because everyone was there, right?
You know what I mean? Because it was like, hey, and I just... No, but I prefer Dunkin' Donuts. But because everyone else is waiting, I want to go because my brother and they stayed in Australia and they got Krispy Kreme all the time. So it's not that good. But if 50 people are waiting outside Manukau, if it's just going to go that long, I need to go there too. You know what I mean?
And now they've said petrol stations now.
That's right. That's right. And that kind of shows the mentality of
Yeah,
people.
that's
You know, and hopefully when we hear something good, we can go, hey, let's go listen to these guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's go listen to
Yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
It's
And
all
let's
about-
all go wait for 28
Yeah.
or 5 hours to get a
It's
ticket.
all about,
Get it.
it's all about creating the buzz, eh?
Yeah, that's part of it too, eh?
Yeah.
Create that buzz, and
Yeah.
people come then.
And when you say that, I think possibly we just lack that confidence to really decide for ourselves.
Yeah, true
Because
that.
if there was something that we liked, then just show the
Well,
light. you know?
I think there's a shift though.
Yeah.
Because I can tell by the way the kids are dressing these days. So I'm like, you have to be really confident to wear that. Like,